Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the La Germania Food Business Bootcamp Series 1, Foodpreneur's Guide to Starting a Food Business. My name is Margot Sue, and I will be your host for this evening. We've got a very special lineup of speakers for tonight's masterclass, of course, brought to you by La Germania. For the foodies out there, this one's for you. In this evening's event, hear from our experts on how you can turn your passion into a full-fledged food business, where we'll cover everything from product development to launching your own brand and everything else in between. To all our foodies in the audience, we'd love to hear from you. Engage with us on social media by following and tagging at La Germania PH on Facebook and Instagram. Don't forget to tag us on your stories and posts. But before we begin, I'd like to introduce Claudia Tagle, Marketing Associate at General Heat Corporation, to officially welcome all of you to this evening's event.
Good evening to all our foodies in the audience, and thank you so much for joining us at La Germania's Food Business Bootcamp. So we're super thrilled to be with all of you tonight, and we've got a lot of exciting things up our sleeves, including a lineup of really interesting speakers who'll be telling us more about their own experiences, tips, and advice. So we know that these times are challenging, and with the current circumstances that we're in, starting a business, especially in the F&B industry, might seem like a very overwhelming feat. This is the reason why we at La Germania Philippines wanted to create this exclusive event series. So for the foodies and aspiring entrepreneurs out there who are still trying to cross that hurdle of setting up their own businesses, rest assured that La Germania is here to help out, bring that kitchen genius out in you.
Thank you very much, Claudia. And to our guests this evening, I'm sure you're just as excited as I am to hear from our speakers. But before we do, I'd like to remind everyone to hold on to your questions throughout the evening and save them for our Q&A portion. As our speakers give their respective masterclasses, be sure to drop those questions in the Q&A box down below, and we'll get to those later on in the program. Some of our speakers are also giving away freebies tonight, so make sure you stick around for that. All right, let's get started. Our first speaker for tonight is one of the most recognizable celebrity chefs in the country due to his no-compromise approach to quality in his food and his endearing advocacy with Filipino cuisine. To our aspiring foodpreneurs, here to tell us more about what it takes to turn your love and passion for food into a viable business idea, let's all welcome celebrity chef and restaurateur, Chef Lau.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Chef.
Oh, there. All right. How are you guys? Thank you so much, everyone, for attending our food business boot camp. I'm Chef Laudico, or you can call me Chef Lau for short. And I'm sure every one of you are here because some probably already started their food business, or maybe someone here is thinking of. I think you're in the right spot because I'm not just here. I'm together with a lot of other guys that will give their insights as to how to put up your food business. Okay, so before I tell you what you can do, I'll maybe share to you a little bit of my history of how I became a chef. All right. So, well, it started really, I started so young. Maybe I was around 7 years old when I started cooking. And what made me fall in love with food is I'm super takaw when I was a kid. I literally lived in the kitchen. And at a very young age, I would always watch Everyone cooked. I even went to farmers market every Sunday to buy produce ingredients. So I was, pretty much exposed at a very young age with good ingredients and you know I I really ate a lot when I was a kid. So that's really important. If you want to start a business, you have to really be a foodie and you have to really love food. So and then later on when I uh, grew a bit taller, I was actually not just watching them. I helped them prepare food and cook. And then eventually, um, when I was in high school, I realized that you can you can have a career as a chef. Before being a chef wasn't popular. There weren't any cooking shows that you watch in cable or TV. There weren't even culinary schools back then. So I told my parents, if if possible, that I don't even, I don't want to go to college. I just want to work in a kitchen, work in a restaurant. And they told me, nope, you have to go to college. So I went to UP, Diliman, and that's where I met my lovely wife. She was my first girlfriend, and like me, she also started cooking Guevarra was in the old green belt. Maybe some of you know of that restaurant, but I'm sure you guys don't know. And then I worked after that in Carpaccio. Carpaccio, up to now, it's still open. I think it's in Makati, in Yakal Street. Carpaccio is an Italian restaurant, and I was their first pizzaiolo. I I did the pizzas in Carpaccio. I was a guy there. I was the pizzaiolo. So um, when my parents found out that I was working in Carpaccio, of course they were like, uh, a bit to study culinary formally. Of course, who would not want to study in a culinary school? But the problem was there were no culinary schools here in Manila. Going to New York, and I have uncles and aunts there. They took care of me. I went to a school called Culinary Institute of America. Yes, it's a fantastic school. It's CIA for short, and I took a 3-year course there. I graduated Dean's List, and after graduating, I worked in several countries. I went first to France in Chambéry. It's near Switzerland. It's a ski resort area in France, and they had like winter there for like 7 months in the year. So I worked there for a while, and then after that, I went to Australia. I went to Sydney. I worked there for a couple of months. I actually worked in 2 restaurants there. I worked in Hugo's by Bondi Beach, and I also worked in Lothar's. And then eventually, I went back here to the Philippines, and then um, when I went back, my well, still girlfriend Jackie back then told me, you know, um, since since you've worked all over the place, might as well uh, let's set up our own. But for a restaurant, you need capital, you need all this stuff. So we opened our own private catering business. So that was year 2000 when we started our own Chef Laudico private catering, and it was me together with well my girlfriend then back then, Chef Jackie, and then we did that for a while until finally we opened our first restaurant in 2006. That was Chef Laudico Bistro Filipino in BGC. It was the first modern Filipino fine dining restaurant, and that restaurant is very special to me because that pretty much put us on the map. They A lot of people started noticing us because we pretty much we were the only ones doing Filipino food in that way. And then after that, we opened Chef Laudico Guevarra's, which is a totally different concept. It's a 1920s house in San Juan, which I turned into a buffet restaurant. Yes, and then now it's still open, the Guevarra's, and up to now we're still doing our catering business. And I also have a nice coffee shop downstairs where I live. I'm here in Renaissance, Ortigas, and downstairs we have a small coffee shop called OK Cafe. Yes. So enough of my history. I'm sure you guys are dying to know how to turn your hobby into a business or your love for food into a business. Number one, before you start a business, you really must love food, love cooking, love everything that's about food, because at the end of the day, you know, if you love what you're doing, you'll be very successful at it. You don't need to be a great chef or a great cook. In fact, a lot of restaurateurs that are very successful don't know how to cook, but they have really good taste and they love to eat. So they know what's good, what's sellable, um, you know what tastes good. In short, all right. So if your family and friends, if you cook for them and they love your food, all right, that's a good start. Of course, when you go into the food business, it's not an easy job. You'll be working long hours. You'll be standing up. It's hard labor. It's not all good. I think you can start with your food business. All right. So, what else? Okay. Um, Next slide, please. There. Okay. So, let's go to the technical aspect of putting up a food business. Number one, you to have the proper equipment. Okay, so at least is a good uh, oven and range. Um, it La Germania has been with us. It's been with me since I was a kid. I was cooking with La Germania, and uh, the first thing we bought for our catering business was a nice oven range setup, of course, by La Germania. And up to now, since year 2000, it's now 2020, 21 years, but I'm not using it anymore. It's in my father's home. He's using it, but that was our first oven range that we used for our catering business, and it did just give us a lot of business, but it withstood a lot of beating because, of course, catering, you cook for a lot of people. So very important, you should have a nice oven stove set up in your home. All right. Another very important piece of equipment is your storage. Um, you need to have uh, enough freezer space, enough chiller space to put all your ingredients. Because if you're putting up a food business, you're not just cooking for a few, people. We're talking about good for 100 and all that because you need to sell a lot of stuff, right? So proper freezer and chiller is very, very important. All right. Next, where you prep your food, where you cook your food, it has to be super clean. Like you notice here, I have a stainless steel table. Everything here is immaculate. It's very important that you uh, have a very sanitary and hygiene workplace because what you don't want to happen is your customers get sick because your food is not clean, you don't follow proper food handling procedures. When you store food, you just don't put hot food inside the chiller. You have to be aware of that and all. And it's very important that you serve clean food, period. All right. So you have to take that in consideration. And of course, you need the proper knives. I would suggest you get a food processor because it's hard to chop onions. That's good, 5 kilos of onions if you need to chop. You will spend like 30 minutes to an hour just peeling and chopping. So having a food processor would make your job very easy. It will take minutes, seconds even. And you need to have the proper pots, pans, of course. This is a German Wusthof knife. This is my favorite. It's been with me for so many years already. All right. And you need to have good packaging as well to put your finished product. All right. So that's the first step. Next. All right. This is very important. I know there's food that's trendy, that's popular. It's okay to do those kinds of, I mean, the same food that everybody likes, but at least you have to put your own signature style to it, be unique, put a little twist. Yeah, it should reflect your personality. Whatever product you're selling, it should it should not just be a a reflection of taste good. I'm sure everybody has their own fried chicken or they have their own ube cheese pandesal, but what makes your fried chicken stand out from the rest? So be unique, that so people would actually remember your product. Okay. What else? Whatever you do, whatever product. So how to do that is everything that you tested, a brand loyalty is consistency as well. So people love your food because of the taste and the quality, and they crave for that same taste, same quality. What happens? So make sure consistent, make sure the quality is always the same. All right, cool. Next, yes, very important. I mentioned a while ago, when I was young, I was exposed to really good ingredients. I went to the farmers market all the time, and this is your foundation. You don't screw this up. You cannot and will not and should not compromise with ingredients. Yes, that's my number one rule with cooking. If you have bad uh, ingredients on hand, even if you're the best cook in the world, your final product will be bad as well. So never ever compromise with your ingredients, and please try to cook everything from scratch. It tastes a million times better if you don't use those convenience products. What are those convenience products? Those products that, you know, it's a shortcut of, let's say, instead of doing your own stock, you just buy a bouillon cube. It's full of MSG and all artificial flavorings. Please try to avoid that because um, most most people use it. So if you wanna be different, you want to make your food stand out, do everything from scratch, use fresh ingredients, and avoid using those convenience products because you'll end up tasting like exactly what those convenience products taste like. All right. Okay. Finally, step five. This is the most important. Why are we even doing a food business in the first place? Of course, we want to earn any business, not just food. You want to earn money, and for you to be able to do that, you should know your costs. Everything, all ingredients that you use, since you have a recipe, you should base the food cost from from your recipe. And a proper percentage of food cost is anywhere from, let's say, 30 to 50% of your price, of your selling price. So let's say you're selling your cake. Let's say you baked a nice chocolate cake and you're selling it for 800 pesos. Let's say one whole cake. Make sure you don't have food costs that's more than 400 bucks. If you can make it less than 400 bucks, then that's good. Why? Because it's not just your ingredients that have cost, you have additional costs as well. There's the cost of packaging, cost of delivery, cost of uh, utilities, your gas, if you're using a gas stove, your electricity, water, or if you're, if you're not the one who's cooking or baking, if you're hiring somebody else, you also have to take that into consideration. That's also cost. A nice profit margin should be, after all the costs, is anywhere between 10 to 20% profit margin, meaning that's your kita. That's a good, 20%. If you can do it, awesome. All right. So um, another very important thing to do is you should know how to market your product. Yes, very important. It, you know, you have nice pictures and you make it look, fantastic. And actually, my friend will after me will actually discuss how to market your product in more detail, but marketing is very, very important. Don't ignore that. And we're lucky that we have social media that we can use to promote our food. We have Facebook, Instagram. Um, so use that because it's free. And you have to make your product very accessible. You know, it's important that your customers know how to order your food, and uh, your customers won't have a hard time uh, sampling or ordering your food. So make sure it's very accessible and make sure to market it uh, very well. All right. So what are the skills that you need to be able to succeed in a food business? I think I've mentioned it before, but I think the number one skill or the number one characteristic that a chef food business it's not easy. It's hard work and it's you can't please everyone. So you have to have a big heart and you know you have to genuinely love pleasing people. I'm the type of person that I like to satisfy and make people happy. And there's no other greater feeling that you made somebody very satisfied from your hard work and you made that person really happy. So uh, there's no better feeling. And you need also to be organized because you're not just cooking for yourself or you're not just cooking for your friends and family. Your prep, your cooking, your preparation, everything. So everything has to be clean. You have to be OC to the point. So you have to be organized. Uh, you have to know what your customers like, um, especially if you know your market. You have to listen to them. Be a people person. Don't be a snob. Uh, accept uh, positive criticism. Um, and at the end of the day, we can't please everyone, but at least you have to please yourself first. If it's good for you, then I'm sure it's gonna be good for other people. So you have to have that sort of people skills. And lastly, you have to be very motivated and disciplined because it's really this is a tough job. It's not for everyone. Um, Handle failure in a positive way. Try to learn from it. I've made mistakes, and I keep making mistakes myself. But for me, any mistake is an opportunity to be better. Uh, just keep improving. All right. So, how to stand out from the rest of the pack? Well, again, you need to first know your target market. Um, that will determine how much you will charge your product. Uh, you don't have to be the cheapest one. Uh, your food has to be of value, and there's such a thing as value for money, which I will discuss further later on. And what else? Um, yeah, value for money. Okay, so uh, value for money doesn't have to be cheap. Uh, you can have the most expensive uh, product in the world, but people still buy it because it's great. So whatever you sell and how much you sell it for, you know, there's such a thing as they get what they pay for, and you should do that. Don't um, overcharge, or even don't undercharge. So value for money is very, very important. All right. And yeah, I mentioned a while ago, consistency. I mean, why is Jollibee so, not just here in the Philippines, around the world? Jollibee is 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 everywhere. It's because whatever Jollibee you go to, whether it's in the Philippines or in Europe or US, is you get the same exact chicken joy or whatever they sell, and that's a very, very important. Consistency is the key, right? And again, you need to be unique and creative. Try not to just copy other people's stuff. Put your own um, style, put your own you know twist to your product, and that's what will make you you know people remember you for that. And of course, uh, presentation and packaging is very, very important for you to succeed, because it's the first impression that your customers will see when they see your food delivered, and your packaging is messy, it doesn't look clean. It's not going to work. And of course, you have to go the extra mile. um, I remember one time my friend was craving for my uh, Angus beef kare kare, and he was in his office, and he just texted me, said, "Chef, I love your kare kare. I want to eat it. I'm craving for it, but I'm so far. I my office in Manila, and I just need one order for my lunch." And he was just wishing that he could eat it. And then I told him, "No problem. I'll deliver it to your office." He said, "What? You can't. You don't have to, because it's so far, and I'm just ordering one kare kare." But he's a loyal customer, so I did that, and up to now he still orders kare kare for me from me. So you need to go the extra mile, because they'll appreciate that, and they'll be loyal for you because of that. All right. So what else? Next, is that it? Yes. Always learn from your mistakes. I still make mistakes every now and then. Just be patient, because at the end of the day, you can always reinvent yourself if a concept fails, or if your product doesn't sell. There's a million other products that you can try and sell yourself. So don't be discouraged. Learn from your mistakes. Yes. All right. Okay. Yeah, I think I said you have to be honest with your food. Uh, it will show if you really love feeding people, if if you like making other people happy. They will really taste and feel that in your product. So be genuine, be honest, and yeah, I think that's it. Thank you so much, guys. I hope you're inspired. Later on, if you have questions that you want to ask me or my friends, please do ask. I'll stay here until the end. And again, I'd like to thank La Germania for making this food bootcamp possible. And I'd like to thank all of you guys who are watching. I hope you guys are inspired to do your own food business. And I wish all of you all the luck. Keep safe. Uh, Today is, crazy times. So I hope you guys Have fun. All right? Cool.
Thank you so much, Chef Lau. Such great insight on how to start and keep a food business going. I definitely need to work on staying disciplined, but I think I got the thakow part down 100%. But yes, again, like Chef Lau said, a Q&A at the end of the show. So go ahead
Yes.
and leave those for him if you have any questions specifically for Chef Lau. Again, thank you so much, Chef. And
Thank you
now
so
on to our
much,
next
Margot.
speaker for tonight. Yeah, thanks. And on to our next speaker for tonight, a creative savant from Together We Design, a team of 4 designers who share the same passion for design and problem solving. Together has worked with clients across different industries, building meaningful brands through real and honest designs that tell stories, change conversations, and create better human experiences. Here to tell us more about crafting your brand story, let's all welcome partner and designer at Together We Design, John Tan.
Hi guys, and good evening. Welcome to Foodpreneur's Guide to Starting a Food Business by La Germania. So, I'm John Tan, and I'm a partner and designer at Together We Design. So, we're a branding and graphic design studio based in Cubao. But syempre, just like everyone else ngayon, we're working from home. So, I hope all of you guys are safe at home. And yeah, let's start with my topic. So my topic today is about how to develop your own brand story. So how can we expound your brand story and to help you resonate to your target market? So today I'm gonna discuss about 3 things. So first, branding. So ano ba yung brand? Ano ba yung brand identity? Next is developing a brand story. So how can we develop your brand's core foundations and how can we expound on your brand story? And then lastly, I'm going to give you some tips and different approaches when designing your visual and verbal identity. So jump na tayo sa part 1, branding. So what is a brand? So this has been thrown a lot around these days. So yung word na brand, brand identity, marketing, advertising, yung social media content. So medyo may overlapping services naman to and overlapping ideas. But let's focus first on the brand. Next slide, please. So common notions about branding or identity is that yun na rin yung logo, but it's more than that. So yung logo, part lang siya ng brand. So when asking a designer to create a striking or memorable logo like Nike, Apple, Dunkin', ganon, hindi siya ganon kasimple or medyo imposible siya actually. So for example, itong Dunkin' Donuts. So Dunkin' Donuts, successful siya as a brand and as a company, not just because maganda or cute yung Dunkin' na logo. It's not just because maganda yung packaging niya or cute yung social media nila. Successful si Dunkin' kasi masarap yung pagkain niya, maganda yung packaging. So everything about the company, yung ingredients para magkaroon ng successful na brand. So ano ba yung parts ng brand? Next slide, please. So first we have the offering. So ito yung pinag-usapan kanina ni Chef Lau, yung offering. So this is about your product and your service, how good it is and how it can help change other people's lives. Next part of your brand is your brand story. So ito yung i-discuss ko today. This is about your history, yung discovery mo for your passion, ano yung goals and dreams mo dyan. Next is yung visual and verbal identity. So ito yung pinaka-surface level na nakikita ng mga tao. So this is how you look, this is how you sound like. And then lastly, yung touch points. So in touch points, ito yung different areas where people can experience your brand. So pwedeng packaging yan, social media, website, etc. So going back to Dunkin', So si Dunkin successful siya kasi Dunkin paid attention to all of these. So masarap yung donut niya, masarap yung kape niya, and magaling yung marketing nila. So example nito is nag-rebrand si Dunkin nitong I think 2019 because they paid attention to their growing market and their growing opportunities. So na-realize nila na um, we're growing and iba-iba yung look natin sa iba-ibang countries. Kasi for example, si Dunkin Donuts sa Spain, ang tawag sa kanya Dunkin Coffee. Kasi mas sikat si Dunkin as a coffee brand. So in some countries, mas sikat talaga yung coffee ni Dunkin. So to consolidate everything and to expand further in the future, pinag-isa ni Dunkin lahat into one stronger brand called Dunkin. And at the end of the day, Dunkin rin naman yung tawag mo sa Dunkin Donuts eh. So they really paid attention to that and they carefully designed everything. Next slide, please. So they were able to manage and perfect their brand kasi conscious sila sa sarili nila and sa sarili nilang brand. And conscious rin sila on how other people can perceive and how other people can experience their brand. So going back dito sa offering, so si Chef Lau covered that already. So offering is how So guys, inaayos lang namin yung presentation. Nawala lang siya. I hope okay lang kayo dyan.
Yes, thank you guys for being patient while we work this out. And don't forget to follow La Germania PH on social media. I see that the presentation is about to be back up. So back to you, John.
Sige, forward, please. Next. Yan. So, back to the brand story. So, four essential parts siya. First, yung purpose. So, ito yung why, yung vision, yung mission, and yung values. So, itong nilista kong four parts, guide questions lang siya and approaches when thinking about your story. May ibang brands na mas mahaba or mas marami silang parts like may manifesto, may brand promise, attributes, etc. But I think itong four na to yung pinaka-importante. These four questions can only be answered by you, the business owner. So yung mga aspiring na foodpreneurs dyan, ito yung tatanungin nyo sa sarili ninyo. Only you can answer this because this is rooted in your passion sa pagluluto. And at the same time, syempre, grounded to by the realities of running a business. So next slide. So first, yung purpose. Some guide questions lang when thinking about your brand purpose. So why is it worth doing? So bakit ko ba ginagawa tong business na to kahit challenging siya and maraming obstacle? So ask yourself, why is this worth doing? Ano ba yung rason? So the answer here will serve as your fuel or your drive for your passion. So this will get you through the tough days. Next. Next is yung vision. So ito naman yung long-term vision mo or yung ano yung nakikita mo sa brand mo in the future. Where do you see yourself in the future? This is what you strive for. So kumbaga ito yung dream or yung goal mo long run. Next. So how can you get your dreams? So yun yung mission. Yung mission is how will you achieve your brand's vision. So this will be your active approach in reaching what you strive for. And then lastly, we have values or belief. So, itong values, usually sa mga corporate businesses, ito yung mga virtue like kindness, humility, leadership, innovation. So, hindi kailangan ganun yung values ng brand ninyo. These can be beliefs, phrases, words to live by. Basta importante dito is that you believe in it. You, your employees, and your customers believe in this. Kasi yung values nyo, yung magiging magnet for other people to support you. So, we'll use one of our projects as a good example of a brand story. So, ikikwento ko lang yung story namin for Verde. So, Verde is a restaurant in Ayala Triangle. So, the Verde team came to us already with a name. So, may name na sila and they already have a concept in mind. So, yung concept nila in mind is twofold. First is they want to support our local farmers. So gusto na nila makat yung middleman para matulungan yung mga farmers directly. Next is they want to provide a healthier food option for the fast and on-the-go lifestyle ng corporate Makati. So medyo magkaibang mga tao yung gusto nila matulungan dito. So yung solution nila is they directly partner with different farms in the Philippines, and each farm provides a specific produce dun sa restaurant. So yung food offering nila is Verde Bowls. So yung Verde Bowl, complete and healthy food siya. Complete meal in one. Next. You can mix and match different healthy ulam. So may protein, may vegetable, may sides, may sauces. So kompleto yung bowl mo na healthy. Next. So in order for them to serve the fast-paced Makati, yung style ng restaurant nila is parang turo-turo. Gets parang literal, tuturo mo yung pagkain na gusto mo and then they're gonna mix it in the, they're gonna put it dun sa Verde Bowl. Next. So yung interesting dito is that since yung produce nila is galing sa ibang farmers directly, kung hindi available, for example, yung lettuce sa salad, part nung fish bowl mo. So, ang galing lang kasi parang natulungan nila yung both ends of the people that they serve. And yun, that's our story for Verde. I think we were able to translate their story in dun sa restaurant nila. Clear naman yung um, gusto nilang mangyari sa farm. Clear naman yung gusto nilang mangyari dun sa food offering nila. And that's Verde. So next example is, ito mas makikita nyo around supermarkets. So I'm gonna discuss yung story naman ng Cravewell. So Cravewell is a better-for-you snack brand currently in the market. They initially approached us to rebrand one of their better-for-you snacks called Founding Farmers. So may Founding Farmers sila na brand, but then after doing some research and branding workshops with the owner, na-realize namin na may gaps sa market na pwedeng mapasukan ng bagong brand ng Cravewell. So instead of rebranding, gumawa kami ng bago. Dinevelop namin yung Cravewell. So yung kwento ng Cravewell is that ever since yung owners, they're really into snacks. Since bata pa sila. If you remember yung vegetable snack na Snacku, meron silang mas healthier version nun. And yung childhood memory nila about it was masaya silang kainin yun. And ngayon that they're in the business, they want other people to have that experience as well. Next slide. So they want people to have better and healthier snacks than our usual potato chips or junk food. Kaya gusto nila gawing mainstream yung Cravewell para meron tayong better option na snack brand. Next. Kasi usually, yung mga healthy snack brands, mahal, boring, or imported sila. So gusto natin na mag-stand out si Cravewell. Next. So part of the story ng Cravel is yung research namin. So sa research namin, people impulsively snack kasi they give into cravings. Bakit? Either emotional or functional craving yan. So emotional, let's say na-breakan ka or malungkot ka. Functional, pagod ka sa gym. So regardless of ano man yung reason mo, magki-crave ka talaga. So yung insight namin dito, next slide, is that yung cravings mo are inevitable and wala kang magagawa kundi mag-crave. So, yung craving, hindi siya yung problema. Yung problema is kung ano yung kakainin mo para ma-satisfy yung craving. So, from that insight, yun, yung doon namin nakuha idea na mag-give in na lang tayo sa craving, pero dapat healthy yung kakainin natin. So, we can give in to our cravings, but let's eat something better. And yun, we can just crave well. So, doon ang galing yung name. Next. So yung Crave Well, unlike other healthy brands, yung lalo na yung mga imported na medyo snobby, si Crave Well, siya yung tutulong sa'yo to get better kasi siya nagbibigay siya ng better options for snacking. So si Crave Well yung mag-cheer sa'yo sa journey mo on a healthier lifestyle. Siya yung personal cheerleader mo that gives you high fives. So as a recap, balikan natin yung brand story, himayin natin yung kunento ka about Cravewell. So ang purpose ng Cravewell is that they believe that everyone deserves to snack and eat better and healthier. So yun yung purpose nila. Next is yung vision. So they want to nourish our modern lifestyle na fast-paced, na on the go lagi. So, paano nila magagawa yon? Yung mission nila is to satisfy every craving in a fun, healthy, and nourishing way. And then lastly, yung values nila, they believe that everyone deserves to snack better. So, yung nourishment, yung enjoyment, they believe na dapat meron tayong positive outlook. And then yung ease, yan yung convenience ng pagkain ng healthier. And then last, recap lang ulit. Purpose, yan yung why. Yung vision, yan yung what. Mission, yan yung how. And yung values, yan yung beliefs or pinaniniwalaan. So, that's the brand story. Ngayon, let's jump into yung yung visual and verbal identity. So I'm not gonna dive deep into yung specifics on how to design better. Dun tayo sa I'm just gonna share some tips on how to design visual and verbal identity. So first, know your target market. Nabanggit na to ni Chef kanina. So before you start designing or writing, do your market research. It's not just about the demographics. Ang importante dito ngayon yung psychographics. So what are their hobbies? Where do they hang out? Ano ba yung interest ng mga tao? So yun yung i-pinpoint ninyo para mas maging relatable and connected kayo sa audience. Next is focus on your strengths. So yung reality is that we can't be the best in all aspects of the business. Next slide, please. So focus tayo dun sa strength. So check your toolkit. Ano ba yung saan ka ba magaling creatively? Magaling ka ba mag-social media, food styling? Magaling ka ba mag-illustrate? And focus on that to boost yung uniqueness ng brand ninyo. Di ba? Yung point ng pag-focus sa strength is I want you to manage your brand identity in a long run. So for example, wala kang enough budget para kumuha ng photographer every week para mag-shoot ng food. Pero magaling kang mag-illustrate. So mag-focus ka sa illustration and i-illustrate mo yung brand mo. Next is plan out your touchpoints. So lahat ng diniscuss ko kanina, hindi yan mag-matter if you can't show it to the world. So plan out how people can experience your brand. How do you do that? First, i-manage mo muna yung brand assets mo. So have a standard set of logos, colors, fonts, layout, caption, tagline, etc. So dapat consistent yun lahat. Na may function, consistent siya na nagsiserve sa brand mo. Next is alamin mo kung saan yung channels, kung saan mo siya i i-spread out. Alamin mo saan may spread yung awareness para mas ma-experience ng mga tao yung brand mo better. So I'm sure later on, mamaya si Ina of Spruce Creatives can give more tips about this. And yun, just remember to maintain consistency. So lastly, just some few things to remember. First is be real and be honest. So people tend to notice kung forced or pretentious yung ginagawa mo. So relax ka lang, just be normal, just be natural sa ginagawa mo, and people will come to you. Next is consistency. So paulit-ulit tong sinasabi ni Chef, be more consistent. It's easier for people to remember you kung consistent ka. And the more na mas consistent ka, the more you get better in the long run as well. And then lastly, always go back to your brand story. Never forget your story. So kung medyo nahihirapan ka na or di mo na alam yung next mong gagawin, ask yourself, why is this worth doing? Ano ba yung vision ko in the long run? So your story can help you realign with your brand or your dreams. And that's it for me. Thank you, everyone. And if you have more questions or may gusto niyo magpa-consult, we have a 30-minute free consultation starting next week. And you can also contact us directly sa website namin or email us. Or kung may gusto kayong itanong right after, pwede nyo i-message sa Q&A portion ng webinar. And thank you, guys.
Thank you so much for that insightful talk, John. I'm sure our audience can agree that some of those points you mentioned will be super helpful in honing in on the importance of a brand story. And I do have to say, I felt a little personally attacked when you started talking about researching how people snack and what type of snackers there are.
Okay
I constantly snack. Yes.
Okay lang mag-snack. Basta
there we go.
Snacks.
Okay, there you go. Thank you again so much, John. And to our aspiring entrepreneurs here with us tonight, like John mentioned earlier, he and the entire team at Together We Design is offering free consultation services open from April 19 to 22 and 26 to 30 from 4 to 4:30 p.m. and 4:30 to 5 p.m. So they're half-hour consultations. And this is only available for the first 18 registrants. So don't miss out. You can sign up at the link tinyurl.com/consultwithtwd. Again, thank you so much, John. Also, don't forget to continue dropping your questions via the Q&A button below, and we'll see each of our expert speakers answer them later on tonight. So moving on, our next speaker for this evening is the founder of Spruce Creatives, a creative studio specializing in content curation and creative development in the digital space. Their in-house creative team spends their work days planning, curating, and shooting from the studio, reinventing the content creation process by removing the fluff and focusing on the product and target market. Here to talk to us about marketing your food baby and harnessing purposeful content to kickstart your brand, let's all welcome founder of Spruce Creative, Ina Martellino.
Hi, everyone. I hope you're all doing okay, and I hope you've enjoyed so far the talks of John and Chef Lau. I hope everybody's been managing to keep smiling and stay positive, even if I know times have been kind of challenging lately. Anyway, before anything else, I'm Ina, and as Margot said, I did founded Spruce Creatives, which is a boutique creative studio. So just to give you a little bit of an idea of what we do, essentially we do all things content creation, styling, photography, creative direction, all that kind of stuff. We've been operational since 2017, but strangely enough, we've seen more growth in the past year, surprise, during a pandemic than we have in the past 3 years before that. So I wanted to tell you a little bit about what helped us grow. A year ago, my partner Malik and I started an initiative called Spruce Spotlight. So we were stuck at home like everyone else. And, we were thinking, what do we do? We want to help out. We want to do something to help the community. And so we decided we wanted to create free content for SMEs, who are trying to survive, or for people who are trying to start a new business. And yeah, one day we announced it on the Spruce Instagram stories. And 2 months later, we had shot over 200 brands and had the most maybe busy 2 months of our entire careers. But then more than just producing content for these brands, we built a community, or started one at least, for Spruce. And I think that's really what sparked our progress. So I just want to show you a few photos that we did. There were too many photos for me to choose from, so I just chose a couple to share with you guys, but more photos later. So yeah, after speaking to a lot of these business owners and kind of like, I guess, hearing their stories and why they wanted Spruce to help them, etc., we saw common pain points that these brands pointed out or had. And here are a few of the questions we heard, or phrases rather. One, I'm not creative and I have no idea how to create content. I guess this was like the most popular one we heard among everyone. How do I get people to notice my brand was another. My photos don't look professional enough. How do I get people to try new things on my menu? I don't have anywhere to take photos in my house was another very popular one. And okay, so of course, aside from these, I mean, there were many other things, more unique problems, like how do I push takeout and delivery, for restaurants that had been focused on dine-in. That was a very common pain point as well. But anyway, we took all of that and we tried our best to fit them into 3 solution buckets that I hope will help you guys if any of you are aspiring food entrepreneurs, or if any of you have existing businesses. I mean, I guess you can kind of apply these to any kind of business or creative aspect of a business. So the 3 buckets are getting discovered, making them hungry, and the repeat customer. Okay, let's start with getting discovered. The number one thing that will most likely get you discovered is good photos. So good content will get your foot in your customers' doors. People are likely to click through to see your menu or your Instagram page if they are drawn in by a good photo. So try and use popular menu items or photos of your best sellers as your ads, since you already know people respond well to those, if you're running ads, of course. So if you're a new business, you might want to use dishes you feel are best or would be the most popular. If you're not running ads, then I suppose these are the dishes that you would post content the most of, so most frequently post. And once people click through to see your feed, make sure your menu is readily available to them, as well as lots of photos of your other menu items, if any. So in general, it's important that your Instagram feed represents your brand. Relating a lot to what John said about branding, your brand elements should be incorporated into your content and across all platforms of your social media or marketing. It's important that you look professional, have clean looking photos, and make people trust your brand right away after seeing, relating to what Chef Lau said, you need to be clean and make sure, it's food, right? Like you really want to be hygienic and as clean and trustworthy as possible with your customers. Another thing is that shareable content can lead to more media pickups. A lot of brands invest in their content or invest a lot of effort into their content because media will tend to pick up nicer photos and feature these in their articles. So obviously, I'm sure none of you share bad photos with your friends and say, hey, you should try this dish, but it really doesn't look that good, but maybe it tastes good. So shareable content is really the way to go and can easily lead to attracting new customers. Let's move on to the second point, making them hungry. So food is a visual product, as we all know, and your photos will set the expectations and build up the appetite of your customers. Okay, here's a quick statistic. Clear, detailed images are deemed very important by 67% of consumers and carry even more weight than the product information, full description, and customer ratings. So obviously that's the first thing people see. It will either make them continue scrolling and not mind your brand, or click through to see more or purchase. So given that, it's nice to, okay, so for personal experience, I wanted to share, I've come across a good food photo and went to the page, decided, okay, maybe this is not the right time to order, or I'm not hungry right now. But you know, the image, because of how yummy it looks, stayed in my head for days. And I mean, obviously I caved into ordering, and just, you know, just to get it out of my head. And I would say that's effective food content. Give people photos that they can save for later or share with their friends. That will also help you navigate the Instagram algorithm better, since that's what helps you get on Discover as well, on the Discover page of Instagram. Show people what goes into making your dish. So ingredient incidentals, I guess a lot of GIFs in motion content really work to show movement. For example, coffee pouring into a cup, cheese being grated into a sandwich, twirling of noodles in a pasta, etc. You need to show people texture. People should be able to taste your food with their eyes. In some like businesses, I guess with bread, it's called the crumb shot. So yeah, and from experience, when we post on Spruce, when we post food posts on Spruce's account, people tend to really engage with it, like it, share it, save it, comment, etc. And yeah, lastly, because most people are at home, you need to show them that the food is good for delivery. So take photos of the food and its takeaway packaging, and let them know that that option is available for them. Moving on to the last of 3 points, the repeat customer. So it's the last, but arguably most important point. We have the repeat customer. Now that you've been discovered, you made a sale and hopefully got someone to try your food, you want them to come back to try something else or try the same thing again. So it's important to actively try and turn these customers, your new customers, into repeat customers through your content. And here are a few ways you can do that. So there's nothing worse than anticipating a meal. So you're like, okay, I ordered it, I'm waiting for it to arrive, and it gets to you and you're like, okay, that is not what I ordered. Like, why does it look like this? Or, you know. And so make sure that the photos you use for your content are original and not just pegs or like inspiration photos you take from Pinterest and you're like, oh, that looks close enough to my meal, so I'll post it. You know, I don't think customers will be very happy about that. So satisfied customers, assuming the food tastes good, will come back. And that's essentially what you want. You need to be engaging and personal, and let your customers get to know you through social media. It's really important for building loyalty and connection between you and your community. Having one-on-one customer conversations helps, you know, get their feedback, thank them for ordering, ask them to, thank you, come again, you know, all that kind of stuff. You need to repost user-generated content, or UGCs. Save these in a highlight for people to check, and so they have a quick and easy reference. You know, for some reason it helps people to see that, okay, other people like it and other people have bought it, so I can buy it too. Yeah, and lastly, because there are, okay, not lastly, but because of how many brands there are in the market, there's always something new. So people can easily forget, obviously, that you exist, not in a bad way, but there's always a new brand, always something else that people want to try. So you really got to keep being active on Instagram, on social media, Facebook, if that's your platform. Keep posting, you know, every day. Maybe you can post a story, put engaging posts on your stories for them to vote, polls, you know, all that kind of stuff. You need to just be active, which is really important. Giveaways also really work as a form of content. It's actually also a good way to get you discovered. Giveaways where you ask people to tag on your comments and all that stuff. You need to make sure you let your community help you build your business. And I think that's where you start to build a community, which adds the most value to your brand, as we've experienced with Spruce Spotlight. I mean, that's really what helped our brand grow amidst a pandemic, which was very cool. Okay, so I mean, from this presentation alone, obviously, and this is only scratching the surface on content, there's so much more to it than I can ever talk about in 20 minutes. But creating and managing your brand's content seems like a lot, which it is. But it's important that, you know, you keep doing you and keep up the hard work, kind of unrelated to content. But I feel like it's always so important to remind everyone that obviously, as a brand, when you're active on social media, it's so easy to, you know, look at your competition or, you know, see, like, I guess, compare yourself to people that are kind of similar to you or brands that are similar to what you're doing. And yeah, you really just gotta stay away from that and try as much as possible to just focus on your own brand, on building your brand. Again, repeating what John said, you need to be real and genuine, and people will see that and you can't go wrong. Okay, so I want to share a couple photos with you. It's on the PowerPoint right now, of a few food brands that we've shot. I just wanted to show you so maybe you can get ideas for your own content if that's something that you do. And just that there are generally different like vibes you can make, I guess, for yeah, food photos. Obviously, like one's a more darker, moody one, another one's more minimalist than wooden, the other one's more colorful. I showed you packaging. Yeah, we did that for a dim sum company. Yeah, okay. But so we took all of that and our creative process in creating all of these photos, and we created a simple how-to for all of you to take away. So feel free to screenshot if you want the infographics. Yeah, that's for you guys. Okay, let's start with setting things up. So it's important to find a good light source. Obviously, this is, if you don't have access to studio lights, then you want to find an area by the window, hopefully on a sunny day. So that will give you enough lighting for you're always better off with bright light than with dark settings, because then your photos tend to get really grainy. If you have, like, if your lighting is coming from one direction and you have your food over here, you might want to put a board or any kind of white board to bounce the light off and give your photo a more soft lighting style if you don't want the harsh contrast that the sun will usually give you. Yeah, so find a nice surface. You can use a table or tablecloth to keep things nice and clean if that's the vibe you want. Use props to level your products and ingredient incidentals so that your photo doesn't look flat. So you can use plates, bowls, glasses, chopping boards, risers, anything like that. Make sure your props, though, don't overpower or take too much attention away from your main product, because sometimes that can happen in photos. Step two, bring out your camera. So rule of thirds, you can use this grid to balance your photos out. That's always a good starting point if you're not a professional photographer. Keep in mind Instagram's grid. You know, I'm obviously, when you get to the grid, everything's kind of squared. So when you shoot, always think like, okay, it's going to go into a square if I'm posting on Instagram. So keep your subject kind of somewhere in the middle of your photo. Show movement, pouring, scooping, twirling, mixing, etc. Texture, get that crumb shot. Group photos, take pictures of menu items that go well together. So like a while ago in the dim sum photo that we had, we put their chili garlic sauce with the dim sum because that's another one of their products we wanted people to try with purchase of the dim sum. And yeah, take a lot of B-roll photos for your Instagram stories, backgrounds, etc. So that when you, for example, post a poll, like, should we start offering, okay, for lack of a better example, should we start offering takeout? And it's like a photo of your bestseller in the background. People might get curious to see, oh, what is this? Looks really good, and go to your page and end up ordering it. I mean, best case scenario. Last step, editing. So try not to use filters on food photos unless, of course, it's your own personal feed and it's for your aesthetic or anything like that. But for restaurants and food businesses, sometimes it changes the colors of the dishes and we don't realize it. So yeah, that's not a good thing. It's nice to stay true to color when you're selling food. So apps like Snapseed and Lightroom, which are available on mobile, are good. These are free apps. And for more advanced users, I mean, if you are a photographer or are an aspiring photographer, you can use Capture One, which is what we use at the studio. It's our preferred software. You can use graphics to fill your feed and share information on your photos and products. Canva is a really good platform or app to use for this. And 3, make sure to stay on brand and follow your brand's language. Look across all content. So while feed curation is not super important anymore, now people are veering more towards like organic content and content that looks kind of more natural. It's still good to have your branding visible and present throughout all your collateral. Lastly, don't forget to have fun and let creative juices flow. Let's try not to make it too serious and too, work related, I guess. Like, it's still nice to just play around with social media and content. Okay, so I have a quick recap for some. Oh, yeah, okay. This is a photo set. Sorry, I skipped that one. This is a photo set that Spruce recently did. So you can see a lot of what I just said. Over here, we have movement, pouring. You see the splashing photo. We have texture, ingredients. So this is nut milk. So like almond milk and macadamia milk, oat milk. And peanut butters, nut butters. Yeah, I think they're pretty. I hope you think they're pretty too. Okay, so a quick recap and other content tips. It's good to introduce yourself and the team behind your brand. If you're a restaurant, show your team, everybody that puts in the hard work to get the food to the customer. It's really important to put the human element into the brand, because that's what really builds loyalty. And like Chef Lau's story, will make people stick by you, especially when times get hard, which we all know is important now. Let your community be a part of your brand. So ask for their opinions, their advice, use polls, ask questions, let them vote on new dishes. If you're doing research for a new menu item, this is a really good avenue also. Keep an updated menu on your highlights and post this on your stories every day to remind people that you are operational. Promptly answer messages and post FAQs on your highlights if possible. Repost UGCs and always thank your customers for sharing, purchasing, etc. Again, shareable content is extremely helpful in driving consumers to your page. Content planning apps like Planoly will help you schedule your posts. Try not to neglect your social media accounts and content, because if you're out of sight, you're out of mind, unfortunately, for social media. While it's okay to ride on trends, make sure you have things that make you original and that will outlast. You don't know how many sushi bake brands we had to shoot during Spruce Spotlight and how many of them are no longer operational now, which is sad. And last, I will always repeat this: have fun with your business and with social media. I know it can become tedious and toxic. I fully know that and have experienced it. Try not to compare yourself with other brands and other people. Really just focus on your own brand and bring quality products and service. Be genuine and honest with your followers and your community. Practice originality, and the success will come to you that way. And that's all I have for today. Thank you so much for listening and lending us your attention. We do have a Q&A thing you can leave your questions on, and we can chat about them later. So yes, thank you so much, La Germania, for having me.
Thank you so much. Yes, thank you so much, Ina. That was such a positive and insightful talk. Definitely got me drooling over here with all your beautiful photos. I have seen all the content that you guys have created. Even before I started following you, people were sharing you guys constantly throughout the pandemic. So congratulations. And yeah, great work. It's really interesting to see how foodpreneurs in the audience tonight could get inspiration from some of the tips and guidance that you shared. So again, thank you so much, Ina.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. And by the way, Ina and the entire team at Spruce Creatives is also offering 10% off on your first project with Spruce Creatives. This is an exclusive offer that's only available for the first 5 people to reach out. So you can email them over at workwithus@sprucecreatives.com. Again, that's workwithus@sprucecreatives.com to avail of the discount. And now on to our final speaker for the evening. We've touched on the entire foodpreneur journey, from taking that first step into launching your food business, product development, to branding and content creation. Now it's time to hear things straight from the perspective of a foodpreneur herself. Everyone, let's all welcome VP for Marketing at Almusal Cafe, Angela Cinco.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. And first of all, I want to thank La Germania for inviting me in today's Foodpreneur Zoom webinar. So today, I just want to talk about the topic, Not Another Pinterest Cafe, a call to make restaurants real and authentic in the midst of a global pandemic. What are we going to talk about? I'm going to breeze through the key points of my presentation today to guide you through. First is, what is she doing here? I'm going to do a brief introduction about Almusal and what is it that I do for the cafe and the rest of the F&B concepts that we have. Second is, what's with the title? Do I hate Pinterest? No, I don't, but I'm going to explain it later on. Third is, let's bring our restaurants to life. I'm going to share quick, easy, but very, very important steps on how to make our restaurants real. And last but not least is survival of the fittest in this pandemic. So a quick preview about what I do. I'm the head of marketing for most of the concepts that you see on this slide. So I am the owner and head of marketing for Almusal Cafe, which I'll be talking about later on. But on top of that, I'm also the head of marketing for Careless Music, a music label that's owned by the great artist James Reid. And I'm also the head of marketing for Brooklyn Industries and Notorious Concepts, which is an F&B and lifestyle company. Currently, in this crazy pandemic, in Q3 2021, we'll be opening about 5 to 6 bar and restaurant concepts soon. And how do I keep myself sane? Just a quick preview of what is it that I like on my personal time. I keep myself awake through coffee. That's why I own a cafe. I also have the safe and support system of my cats, and I do all things through my Lord and my Savior, Jesus. Next. So what's Almusal Cafe? I actually would like to call it a pandemic cafe since we opened it during the pandemic. But for all of you who haven't heard about it just yet, Almusal Cafe is an all-day Filipino and American brunch cafe. It's located currently in Katipunan, Quezon City, right next to University of the Philippines and Ateneo de Manila University. So what do we do in Almusal? We actually have a huge menu that caters to different palates. Some of our best sellers are beef belly tapa, honey butter bacon, and ube frozen brazo, and I'll show you pictures of them later on. So now that I'm here, La Germania invited me to talk about how I set up Almusal Cafe during a pandemic. I just want to give you a brief recap of what life was like during the pandemic opening up a cafe. Almusal Cafe was a concept that me and my partners thought about during the year of 2019, and we were supposed to open it ideally April of 2020. But surprise, surprise, March 2020, the pandemic happened and we were all in lockdown. I think all of us at that time, we didn't know how long it was going to last. So we were pretty hopeful that it was going to end after 30 to 40 days. But again, another surprise, after a couple of weeks, we were still deep in ECQ. And so we were thinking, what are we going to do? Do we still open? Do we take the risks? Do we go all in? Opening a cafe or a restaurant before a pandemic was already really, really difficult, let alone opening it during COVID when you're only allowed to do delivery or takeout. So April 2020 of ECQ, we started taking baby steps. And one of the first few things that we did was finalize our R&D stage. So I'm assuming all of you here are aspiring restaurateurs. And for some of you who don't know R&D is research and development. Long story short, it's when you taste your food amongst your partners, amongst your team, let everybody else have a taste, get their comments, look for good suppliers, look for really good packaging, all of that stuff. So we had to do it in very COVID fashionable way, which is through Zoom. So that's one of the first things that we did. It was me and my partners and our chef who lived in Pasig back then. She would cook the food at her house in Pasig, and then she would have it delivered by a motorcycle delivery app from Pasig to Quezon City. And me and my partners on a socially distant circle were trying out our food in front of a laptop so that our chef can hear about our insights and our comments. So it was just us, a couple of our Tupperwares and notepads doing R&D. We did that over and over and over again. A lot of things got lost in translation. No surprise. Zoom is really doing Zoom communications is really hard. Typical, okay, your mic is off. Wait, what did you say again? You're kind of choppy. Hold on, your video is lagging. But, amongst all of that crazy shenanigans, we pushed through, and June 29 of 2020, we found ourselves opening. And at that time, there was no one else but just us, our friends, and some of the new customers that we found online. And so slowly but surely, the world started opening up. November 2020 of GCQ, I took this photo and I was so happy. I was almost teary-eyed. The cafe was slowly coming to life and people were starting to recognize us. And so today, I want to share with you the things that made us really successful. Here are the photos of our bestsellers that I was talking about. So that's the first photos are beef belly tapa. That's our twist to the tapsilog breakfast classic in the Philippines. Second one is our honey butter bacon. And the last photo shows our pastas, our salads, our sandwiches, and some of our wine offerings. So what's with the title? Not another Pinterest cafe. I'm not a hater. I use Pinterest too. But to those of you who don't know what Pinterest is, it's a digital platform, social media platform. It's basically a visual mood board for you to come up with different bags and different inspirations to help you ideate. Next slide, please. But a couple of days back, I found myself lolling or laughing over these photos called the Pinterest fails. Any of you people bake here? Like, you can look up really, really good pastries on Pinterest and they're magnificent. Not until you try it, you realize it's really hard. I found it super punny for me because the moment you see them, it makes you want to try it out. But when you execute it, you realize, okay, there's so much more to the execution. There's so much more that I have to really think about and assess. So basically, the problem with Pinterest is not about how we use it. It's not about the app itself, it's how we use it. So us restaurateurs, we want to open up restaurants because we want a space that reflects our taste, our preference, and our personality. Basically, authenticity in a nutshell. Authenticity is a buzzword on social media today, but it's also very true and crucial for us restaurateurs. Next slide, please. So, for us, how do we quantify authenticity? That seems really hard, but it's when something about a place seems very thought through and intentional. Authenticity is really important for us to stand out so that we can bring our restaurants to life. The market is already saturated, and the topic of authenticity should be talked about more because we need to make our products, our service stand out. So, how do we do this? Through the three pillars of making a restaurant. First is your food, which is your product. Second is your decor or your style, which creates the ambiance of your place. And last but not the least, customer service. So let's go through food first. For me, it's very important that food conveys important or really good memories that you've had in the past. Why? Because if your dish has is or connected to a really fond memory of yours, then it becomes very aspirational. It's easy for you to talk about it. For us, again, restaurateurs, when we open up our restaurants, a lot of customers would ask us about our dishes. And it's our responsibility to never get tired of talking about it. We have to be the most passionate about it. An example of this would be at Almasal Cafe. When we opened up our restaurant, a lot of people ask us, why beef belly tapa? Why honey butter bacon? And we're always like, okay, honey butter bacon, because thick slabs remind us of, for some of my partners who are New Yorkers, they remind us of New York, our home. And glaze is something that caters to the Filipino palate. I like tocino. So then came the honey butter bacon. So in this slide, I want to emphasize food costs. So in the age of food delivery service apps, we need to keep up. Average food cost, we need to keep in mind, should be at 30%. A lot of the small and medium-sized restaurants like Almasal Cafe, to be honest, they refuse to be part of food delivery apps. I'm not going to mention them, but you already know them, the green one and the pink one and the orange one and so on and so forth. They refuse to be a part of them because these apps take about 25 to 30% commission. I repeat, 25 to 30%. That's a lot for a small to medium sized restaurant. And so that's why it's super important for us to stay on top of this. Not only the food cost, like Chef Lau, he said packaging costs, labor, equipment, all of that, take it into consideration. We need to make sure that we're still making money. We opened restaurants in hopes that our passion will come to life, but also in hopes that our passion will support our life and the life of the people around us. And that involves making money. Staying on top of this is really crucial. And another tip, about the food delivery apps, the pink one and the orange one and the green one again, I'm not against them. I'm actually for them. I want everybody to consider the importance of having these apps for your restaurants. Why? Because of marketing. It helps us remain visible and it helps us become a part of the food map. But again, take into consideration your food cost can't go above or under the average amount. Next is decor or style. Decor or style, it's supposed to communicate your personal stories. So for restaurants, ambiance is such a huge part of our space. In the age of eating at home, you know, do it your own at your house, sushi bake at home, ordering food online, people's standards of food, they became so much higher. They're always thinking, okay, I can cook this inside my house. Now what? Why would I eat at your restaurant? You have to keep up with that. And most of the time, they want to go outside of their house, eat good food in a place that brings good ambiance and good energy. An example of this is when you walk inside Al Musal Cafe, you'll actually realize we don't have that much decor, but we have really nice furniture pieces that were personally attached to, strategically placed in different parts of the restaurant so that they can become conversational and talking points for audiences and for our servers. It's really important because people want to experience a nice vibe while they're eating. A lot of the people also that come inside Almusal ask us, why is the energy so good in this place? And I would answer, maybe the floor plan. Well, ideally, when you start a restaurant, you have a floor plan in mind. But the reality is that floor plan will change maybe 1,000 times. And with the IATF rules today of social distancing, or maybe one seat apart, or having the acrylic cover in front of you and your date, it's really important to uh, do a trial and error along the process. And so for us, you really have to meet up with your team and assess what works best for you and what feels right for your servers and your customers. And last but not the least, customer service. Hospitality is non-verbal. Whether it's taking online orders or catering to our guests, customer service should really reflect the character of the owners or the people behind the cashier or the kitchen. For us at Almasal, we really make sure that we're catering to everybody with the best of our abilities. We train our staff to be charismatic, or when they're not, we teach them talking points. People want to go out in restaurants because they want to be surrounded by other people, especially now when you're always just in front of your laptop, zooming in with your friends, having boozy brunch in Zoom. People want to be surrounded by other people who are, helping them have a good time. And so if not, they'd rather stay at home. So as management, as owners, we need to make sure that this customer service attitude is consistent and observed at all times, because we owe it to our customers. They took a risk in this pandemic. They took a chance on our product despite all the risks to try our food and our service. And we need to show it through our actions that they're welcome and we're happy to have them here. And that's why I would say authentic restaurants are very, very hard to scale. This may seem foolish, but the restaurant industry is a foolish one. And it really is, because we're dealing with humans, and that's difficult. There's no formula to that. And so my last slide is about the survival of the fittest. I would say foolish people with big hearts are the ones who are going to survive and make authentic, memorable places. The restaurant industry is really difficult even without the pandemic. You encounter a lot of reasonable customers, inconsistent suppliers, staff problems, and a lot of risks. I wish someone told me that before I opened up a cafe. In this pandemic and in today's economy, a lot of restaurants are closing because it's really hard to be profitable. And I assume that everyone here wants to be part of the F&B industry, or the restaurant industry, basically. Let me warn you, because I wish someone warned me. It's really difficult. You have to think about it really hard, and you really have to want it bad. It demands the best and the worst of you. It is harsh and difficult, and it requires you to give your best at all times. Why? Because the people that we cater to and the people that we're surrounded with, they deserve nothing but the best from us. If not, why are we opening restaurants? We should just cook for our family at home or our friends at home. But also, I want everyone to remember that it's super worth it. Restaurants are beautiful places at the end of the day. They're places where we meet and interact with people. Restaurants are spaces where we experience the world on a plate, through a dish, through a steak. Restaurants are spaces where we bring our most special people, our clients that we want to impress, our dates that we want to wine and dine, our parents that we want to treat, and our best friends that we just want to hang out with. It's crucial for society's interactions. And that's why restaurants are really, really rewarding. It has the power to be a monumental part of people's lives. And so before you open one, think about yourself. Think about what's true to you. Think about what interests you, what makes you tick. Restaurants, they require us to be real and authentic, and that's what the world wants. That's what the world needs right now. In our group for Brooklyn Industries and my F&B group, we take so much inspiration from the Roaring Twenties. After World War I, the economy was booming and people went out, spent money to enjoy themselves. And we believe that will be us too. The world wants us, so let's all give our best. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Angela, for that very insightful, very inspiring experience you shared with us, really creating your cafe throughout a pandemic. I'm sure a lot of our audience members tonight are going to take a lot of what you shared during your talk, because we're still quite in lockdown and under quarantine, so we want to make things work. So thank you again for that. And at this point, we'd like to bring back all of our speakers for the Q&A portion. So Chef Lau's with us already. John Tan, can you join us as well? Ina Martelino and Angela Cinco. We would love to see your beautiful faces back on stage with me. I'm sure our audience members have a lot of things they'd like to know from each one of you. So guys, you could still drop in your questions in the little Q&A box down below. And we'll try to address them all one by one. All right. I hope you guys have enjoying our boot camp, our food boot camp, brought to you by La Germania. And again, you could follow them over on social media at La Germania PH. And right now, let's go take a look at some of these questions. I know that some of them were already answered by some of the presentations you guys have shared, but let's get into, okay. An anonymous attendee is asking you, Chef Lau, what best practices can you share when starting or running a small food business during a pandemic? I know that Angela covered a whole lot since she did this firsthand, but are there any other tips that you have?
Well, if you're cooking at home, make sure that whatever you plan to cook or serve your guests, make sure you're really good at preparing that particular dish. Avoid experimenting so much. For me, a dish doesn't have to be fancy. A dish doesn't have to be um, using the most expensive ingredients. It just has to be really good, honest to goodness, you know, and it can be any dish. If let's say you've been cooking um, fried chicken since you were young and you're really good at it, you have this special fried chicken recipe that you've been cooking and or you're passed on from your grandmother to you, you do that. It sometimes the simplest dishes uh, are the best ones to sell because it reflects, it gives comfort. That's one thing. Sometimes the more fancier the dishes, it doesn't really relate to some people. Majority of the people still crave for comfort food. So if you're planning to, you know, do something in your home, yeah, keep that in mind. What am I good at? What do I love to eat? Because of course, if you sell something that you don't even eat yourself, it's not gonna sell. Whatever you do, you sell something that you yourself love and tried, and your family and friends have tried it because they're the harshest critics. Your family and your friends, they will tell you honestly, your food suck if if it really sucks.
Yeah.
uh, and they will also be your biggest supporters. So you ask them, what food do you like that I do often, and you can't go wrong with that. Um, just be honest, true to yourself, and go for it because you'll never know unless you go for it.
Absolutely.
If
Yeah.
if you're afraid to fail, then you're not gonna succeed at all. So don't worry if nobody buys your sushi bake. Maybe someday somebody would like your sushi bake, but don't do sushi bakes anymore. Please do something else.
I think that's the
Or
biggest tip.
Or don't do your ube pandesal with cheese anymore. Something like that, you know.
And to all those out there who may be starting a sushi bake or ube pandesal
You're
business.
welcome, Mike.
Okay. All right. So thank you so much for that, Chef Lau. Now we have a question from Teresita Tejada, and this is for you, John. She's asking, kung nasa trial period pala ang food, is it okay to sell the product without label and no brand yet? Good question.
Yes.
It's hard. Oh, there
I,
you go. Nice.
I mean, kung nasa trial period pa naman, and I guess you're still testing your food, selling to your in yung mga in close network mo, 'di ba? Mga friends, family, ganun. I think okay lang naman na wala ka pang label to start with. Since you're still experimenting, nagre-research ka pa, you're still figuring out kung ano ba yung perfect recipe mo. But habang you're developing your perfect recipe, 'di ba? Kung ano man yung gusto mong food offering, you should also think about na rin on developing your packaging, ano ba yung magiging itsura mo, para may target ka in mind na, okay, gusto ko siya i-launch. Siyempre, i-launch mo yung business mo or yung food mo na parang kumpleto na, di ba? Bihis na talaga siya. So, sa trial, baka pwede pa naman na wala masyado, but start to think about it para when you launch, bongga na siya, di ba? Ready na siya to sell.
Yeah, and I think the most important part there is, in a close network, we don't want to share too much to everyone when we're not entirely sure if the recipe is sound yet, right? So thanks so much for that, John. This next one is for you, Ina. What specific platform do you usually see your market? Which of these platforms do you have big numbers of engagement? Do you also use LinkedIn to market your digital business for F&B market?
Okay, so personally, I'm looking for this question so I can see it. Okay, I see it now. Personally, we focus on Instagram and we share on Facebook, so we do cross platforms for Spruce. But with our visual, I guess with the creative side, Instagram for us is the most useful. I mean, ideally, you should be present in all platforms if you can, but we're such a small team. I mean, we're 5 and Instagram is already a lot of work. So personally, I choose to just focus all our energy in building that community. I personally love Pinterest and to use it for my own personal amusement, but it's mostly Instagram and Facebook for us. But I mean, depending on your business, yeah, there are TikTok is also a really, really good platform to make use of.
Oh,
Yeah, absolutely. Did someone else have something to say to that or add to that? Did you have something to add to that, Chef Lau?
no, it's quite interesting aspect the social media right now. I mean, TikTok is it's really people dancing, but um, now I get invites from TikTok telling me you should do TikTok, and I'm like, what? You want me to dance? No, you do cooking stuff or anything food related. But that's kind of challenging because TikTok is just how many seconds is TikTok? So I'm not familiar so much with TikTok, but it's quite interesting. Those channels that we have available now, because before there's no such thing as IG, FB, or TikTok, and now make use of it. I'm still
Yeah.
trying to think what kind of TikTok I will do.
Well, yeah. Actually, there are a lot of foodie TikTok that trend that go viral. They really blow up. They have the Greek pasta.
Really?
Yeah, the Greek pasta one. There was the coffee one early on in the pandemic. There's a lot of different ones. So it might be something for you. Maybe you guys need to,
Yeah.
we'll urge Chef Lau to get on TikTok a bit more, but hopefully we could get some dancing TikToks of you as well, Chef. This next question is
I
for
can
Andrew.
dance, but different kind of dance.
We'll take what we could get. So this next one is for Angela. Clarice Monton would like to ask, how can we market a new dish that is unfamiliar at the location?
If the dish is unfamiliar, I would say the best way to market it is really try to come up with content that explains the inspiration behind your dish, what you like about it, and why people should try it. So it can be in a form of creating beautiful photos, like what Ina said, or video content that shows you cooking your dish. So it also shows like a very authentic personal aspect as to why you love that dish.
Awesome. Awesome. Great. Yeah. And John, we have a question for you again. In this time, Mike Ramundo is the one asking. He's asking, in this time where content is everywhere, how can starting a small food business make relevant noise in the noisy digital arena?
I think definitely being unique can help. Having a unique identity visually or verbally that can really help you stand out. And I guess then in terms of your food offering, kung unique yung in-offer mo and ikaw lang naman yung gumagawa nun, then you can definitely stand out. But I think yung important naman dito is just really be consistent with how you present yourself and how you make people um, know you better, ganon. I think si Ina rin can answer this, especially sa social media part nung nung question.
Yeah. Yeah,
Ina
Ina. So how can people starting a small food business really make a noise in this digital age?
I mean, I think like, well, obviously, I'm gonna say content is probably the best way that can happen. But yeah, I guess also it's nice to rally support from your friends and family. You know, get them to post, get them to share. That's the easiest way, I guess, and your closest connection to people that you can help market, word of mouth. That really helps also. John, I think you'll agree with me where a lot of brands nowadays kind of have similar branding. Everybody kind of tries to go for the same like look or aesthetic. Angela will attest to probably getting it from Pinterest. Like a lot of people off Pinterest say, okay, I want this for my brand, and I'm kind of just going to do it. Even if there are 100 other people looking at the exact same photo on Pinterest. Yeah, so if you can be original, come up with your own concept. I mean, hardly anything is original nowadays, but if you can think of something to be original and you can pull that off, chances are you will stand out. Yeah.
Yeah, it might be good to even, think about who your competitors are, and maybe compare their branding to what you want for your brand and say, okay, does this look like theirs? Does it look better than theirs? I think that might be a good way to do it as well. Next one is for Angela. Raymond is asking, at some point in starting your own businesses, have you ever doubted your skills and almost decided not to push through? If so, what made you push through anyways? Ooh, I like that question.
Ooh, there's a lot of doubt in opening up a restaurant. But I would say what will make you push through is really your passion for food or the service that you're creating, and also having a really good support system. So it can be in the form of having really good partners or chefs, or having a really good team of servers that believe in you, and having good family and friends that also will vouch for your products. When you're in doubt, ask them why you should, and for sure they'll come up with an answer on why you should continue.
I love that. Such a great thing to think about your support system and the people around you. You have such a very pageant kind of response. Woo-hoo! I love it, Angela. This next question is again for Chef Lau. Is there a chef you admire the most Who and why? What is your favorite cuisine? Let's start with the chef you admire most. Who and why? I think that's a really great question.
Chef I admire the most. Wow. Okay. Um, well, I admire so many chefs basically, and it's not. That's a hard question. Actually, I would say I don't know if probably most of you weren't even born yet. This chef is one of the first chefs who had his own cooking show, and the reason why I can't forget this chef because he's one of the chefs that inspired me when I was young. I was probably fifth grade. I would go home like I think it was Wednesdays. Every Wednesdays I would go home earlier from school because his show was around 4:30 in the afternoon, and I would watch the show and I would copy and take notes whatever this guy is doing, and I'm gonna try to replicate it and cook dinner for my family using his recipe that he showed. And who's this guy? This guy is Walk with Yan.
Yeah, Yan can cook, right?
I'm sure
Yan
you
can
got.
cook.
No, Yan can cook is totally
He's
different from
different.
Walk with Yan. Yan can
Oh
cook
my
is
gosh.
yeah, Yan
Okay.
can cook. Yan can cook is younger than Walk with Yan. Walk with Yan probably is, I don't know, 70 or 80 years old now.
Okay.
He's
I'm aging myself. Yeah.
he's
Okay.
yeah, you're younger than me, so you probably don't know. Walk with Yan, and
Walk with Yan.
this guy is so lively. He would wear aprons with with a always a joke using the word walk written on this apron, and it's one of the reasons why I wanted to cook because he's very interesting when you watch him, and um, he's one of the ones that push me to cook at an early age. Yes.
Awesome. Awesome. That's great. Walk with Yan, not to be confused with Yan can't cook. Okay. Our next
No,
question,
Yan can cook is totally different. Yeah.
very different. So next question is for Ina. Mike is asking, could you share or identify important elements of shareable photos? I have a long-term challenge where my visuals and copy isn't enough to earn valuable engagement on Instagram and Facebook. I have a passion project and goes by the brand name Eyes Eat First with hopes of helping local restaurants spread and restaurants brand awareness locally. So what are the best elements, the elements for shareable photos on social media?
Well, first of all, that's such a great passion project. Thank you for doing that. I'm sure it's helped at least a few SMEs. I love passion projects, of course, free spotlight. But I don't think there's any specific criteria for shareable content. It's really dependent on who sees it and what the content is, if it's a type of content that they personally prefer or like to share. I think with food, it just has to look one appetizing. It can't look too, I guess, I'm not going to say like professionally taken because that's not necessary, but it has to look appetizing. It has to be something maybe they can share with a friend. So let's say it's like a buy one, take one promo of a restaurant, and they want to say, okay, well, who can take the other? My friend, I'll share it. Or, hey, we should try getting this the next time, I guess we hang out when it's safe to. Or yeah, like, look, I want to try this. It looks so yummy. I mean, Angela might be able to give insight also with what people actually order at the restaurants for takeout or delivery and all. But in terms of shareable content, I think it has to be something. I mean, I'm not talking about people sharing on their profiles. I'm talking about people sharing with each other, which is what I guess that's more important in terms of sales, right? And getting views, on the other hand, and engagement is just generally really, really hard because of how saturated Instagram is, unfortunately. That's just the reality of it. Even ads don't always work anymore because of how many people are trying to run the same exact ads you are. But yeah, just keep at it. Hashtags, unfortunately, don't really work anymore. But yeah, I mean, just keep posting. I think frequency is important. Content, obviously, make sure your photos look good. And yeah, give people a reason to share it. So it could be like, share this to, I don't know, win something, or partner with brands. You could partner with, for example, you partner with a restaurant to, let's say you sponsor a dish that they can give away, and that's where people will visit your page. I don't know, stuff like that. You have to be creative nowadays. You can't just rely on people liking and commenting and sharing for fun anymore.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much for that insight. And it's about time for our show to end. But before we wrap up, can we get each speaker to give, one last tip of advice or inspiration, something that you just want to share with all of our audience tonight? And we'll go in order. Chef Lau, what do you have to say to our audience before we end?
One word: fearless. Don't be afraid to try something that you absolutely believe in. If it doesn't work the first time, try again. Um, I wasn't a chef overnight. I wasn't Chef Lau overnight. This took years. I'm still, making my own mistakes, my own failures. But what I believe in is if you are not afraid to fail, then you will always succeed.
I love it. Yes, thank you so much, Chef. John of Together We Design, what would you like to say to our audience tonight?
I guess never forget your story. So I think at the end of the day, everyone sa lahat naman ng panelists, yun rin naman yung sinasabi nila parang, but just go back to why you started this. Mahirap siya gawin. So it takes a lot of passion, it takes a lot of effort and perseverance to succeed in this. So I think remembering your story and holding on to it will help you reach your goal. Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much, John. Ina of Spruce Creatives, what are your final words for our audience tonight?
Just to be authentic. I mean, as pretentious, I guess, as sometimes social media has the chance to be, just be yourself, be authentic as you can. People really, really see honesty, and people see through being fake, I guess. So if you show them that you have good intentions and that you're trying to create an honest business or an honest, I guess, reputation for yourself, people appreciate that and people gravitate towards it no matter what.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ina. Everyone continue to stay authentic. And last but not least, Angela, what would you like to say to our audience?
Just survive. Unfortunately, the word seems very simple and yet it's very hard. We're all holding on by a thin thread. We don't know if this is gonna get better, but we remain hopeful. And in spite of danger and of the hardship that this pandemic brings us, let's just survive and let's remain hopeful of what the future has to offer.
All right. Thank you. And I think that's all the time we have for tonight. Thank you once again, Chef Lau, John Tan, Ina Martellina, and Angela Cinco for joining us this evening. I'm sure our audience can agree that it was such an engaging and insightful session. And there you have it, folks. This was series 1 of Food Business Bootcamp, brought to you by La Germania. Next week, we'll be hosting series 2, Survive and Thrive, of the Food Business Bootcamp, where our next lineup of expert panelists will be talking more about how the food industry has been adapting to the current pandemic. It's going to be a very interesting session, so do sign up for that as well. Before we go, don't forget to follow La Germania on socials. That's at La Germania PH on Facebook and Instagram. To know more about La Germania Philippines' full range of kitchen and home appliances and exclusive offers, visit lagermaniaph.com for more details. Once again, my name is Margot Sue, and thank you very much for joining me for this special boot camp brought to you by La Germania. Bye, guys.
Thank you, Margot. Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Margot.
Bye.
Thank you, guys.